at Daylesford, they've got 20 varieties of these gorgeous heritage tomatoes. Now that might mean shorter shelf life than their thicker skinned hybrid commercial varieties, but it means loads more flavour. And that's just what Steve needs for his tomato water, a key garnish of his next dish. So Steve, the kitchen garden where I've got these tomatoes, I mean it is just all about the flavour, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful, and these tomatoes are bang in season at the moment. They're vine ripened, so that means that they're growing and they're ripening, they're developing flavour on the vine, and then we pick them at their very best. And you can see there are a variety of colours and shapes and sizes, and they're beautiful, beautiful.
I could just dig in straight into those like that.
I know.
But you're actually going to make an essence of tomato, aren't you? A tomato water.
That's right. So all we're going to do is we're just going to blend these very, very simply with a hand blender, and then we're just going to pass it through this cheesecloth here. And this is, I mean, this word essence, it sounds a bit chefy, but that's what it is. You know, it's the real essence of those tomatoes, just that flavourful, delicious water. It's absolutely amazing. It's
fantastic.
beautiful.
And that's going with ravioli, I believe.
That's right. We're going to make some pasta. We're going to fill it with some crab meat, with some tomato. We're kind of tying in the story a little bit here. Now, I know that this isn't the easiest dish to create, but it's a cracking dinner party dish. It's really good if you really want to impress your friends. It's light, it's summery, it's delicious, it's in season, and it's a real kind of wow recipe.
Great, well, let's get going. I'm here to help if you help or hinder, whichever way it goes.
Super. Well, let's first take these tomatoes, and all we're going to do is we're going to chop these up. Now, I mean, these are going to get blended, so it's not really particularly important how you chop them. They're all ripe and delicious. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop those into here, and then we're going to add just a little splash of cold water just to start it off, just a touch. We're going to season with salt and pepper. If you imagine seasoning this after you've drained it, then the salt and the pepper are going to sink to the bottom. Yeah. So you need to season it at this stage. Don't be afraid. Give it a little turn. And then later on in the recipe, we're going to be using some basil. So I want to use the basil leaves later, and I want to use the basil stalks now. And it's no secret, of course, that tomato and basil goes together. Yeah. You know, this is a combination that's been used before. So tomatoes, a little bit of water, some basil stock, and if you don't mind, you can maybe blend that with a hand blender.
Yeah, indeed.
Fantastic.
There we go, Steve, all nicely blended.
Thank you very much. So what this is essentially is the pulp of the tomato together with all that water. And if you just pour that through here, so this is a little bit of cheesecloth, a little bit of muslin, and essentially you needn't necessarily use this. You could use a tea towel or something, but yeah, we do find a piece of cheesecloth is going to work very well. So this is going to drip through quite slowly, and it's going to give us our tomato water. So we can just give that a little bit of a stir.
And the beauty of this is, if you've got a glut of tomatoes out of your own garden, ideally, you can make a batch of this and then freeze it.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's so fresh. I mean, you can actually you can drink it as a drink. It's just really, really tasty. And we used to serve actually little shot glasses of it in frozen shot glasses, just delightful as a little kind of appetizer. You know, really refreshing. So you can see that that's just starting to drip through, and it's colourless, the water, but it's certainly not flavourless. It's absolutely packed with that essence of tomato. So we're going to let that drip through. And then we're going to get on and make this pasta dough. So my pasta dough doesn't actually use any egg whites, it just uses egg yolks. Egg yolks for me have all of the flavour, all of the colour, and I don't really think that the egg white brings that much to it. Now, everything else can be fixed in this with the exception of adding too much extra virgin olive oil. So what we're going to do is just for flavour, and it's literally just a few drops, and then we're going to take a little pinch of sea salt. Okay, so that's our salt, our oil, our egg yolks, and then let's take 1 spoonful of flour. Now, there's a lot of recipes that call for 00 flour. That just means very fine flour. You can use plain flour to make pasta if it's your first time. If you enjoy making pasta, you know, and then maybe you want to buy proper pasta flour afterwards.
Yeah, don't get stuck with a load if you're never going to do it again.
Exactly. So I'm taking 1 spoonful of flour for each egg yolk that I've added, okay? And then we'll start off with that. We've got a little bit more flour if we need it, if the eggs have been bigger or smaller. We can always fix this. if needs be. But what we're going to do is we're just going to bring it together. And you might have seen in on the television or other chefs making piling up the flour and making a well in the center. That's all well and good, but to be perfectly honest, I quite like to keep it nice and clean. Don't like to get the bench too dirty for no reason. And then you see how that starts to come together. It's quite crumbly. It's not sticking together in a ball, nor is it like breadcrumbs. So, I mean, I like to compare this to perhaps very overcooked scrambled egg or popcorn. Okay, so it doesn't come together and all sticky. If it was very, very sticky, you can add more flour. If it was very, very dry, you can add a tablespoonful of water, and you can amend that as you go. At this stage, let's turn this out onto the bench. So you can see that consistency, you can see that texture. We're going to bring it together, and then we're going to begin to knead it.
I mean, pasta dough, literally, as we can see, is taking seconds to make.
Well, that's right. I think that one of the issues that people perhaps have is they just think that pasta is really, a really difficult thing to make. So what tends to happen is we'll ask people in a class who has a pasta machine. Maybe 5 or 6 people will put their hand up. We ask who's ever used it. And then, of course, only one person has their hand up. But what happens, of course, is, I mean, it's super simple. Just eggs, flour, salt, a little bit of oil. And it's really, I mean, it's this dough that's key. It's this kneading. So what we're doing is we're really combining all of these ingredients. We're strengthening and lengthening these kind of gluten strands that are in it. That's going to give us a nice pasta that's not sticky. Now, do I go home and make pasta every single night of the week? No. But if I was making this dish, or in fact lasagna as well, you've never had lasagna until you've had lasagna with homemade pasta dough. It's delicious. So when you're kneading this, recipes will tell you knead for 2, 3, 5 minutes. Nobody knows how fast you're kneading. Okay? So I knead my pasta dough 100 times, and then that way I know however slow or quickly I'm going, I know that it's being kneaded sufficiently. But actually, I mean, Can you tell me what that feels like? Does it feel comparable to something?
Like Play-Doh, did they call it?
Exactly.
Those
so like
childhood memories are coming flooding back.
Exactly. So just like plasticine or Play-Doh.
It's like a soft marzipan.
That's exactly what it's like. So we'll just pop this into the fridge. I'm just going to press it out just to make it a little bit easier for myself when I come to roll the pasta dough out. We're going to wrap it in a little bit of cling film. Okay, and that'll protect it from drying out. And then if you wouldn't mind popping that into the fridge.
Sure.
Super. So that's going to take about 20 minutes. Whilst that's in the fridge, we're going to go on and make the garnish. So the tomato water is already hanging. We're quite happy with that. We have some little tomato dice here. And then here we have a courgette. And I'm just going to slice this. So actually, we're going to be serving this courgette raw. I know that sounds a little bit unusual, but it's a recipe that we're doing a lot at the moment for simple salads and all sorts. We're just going to take a speed peeler, one of these peelers here, and then we're just going to peel this into long, we call this kind of vegetable tagliatelle, I guess, courgette tagliatelle.
But again, if you're getting this stuff straight out of the garden that you've grown yourself, all the flavours there, particularly when it's raw. Absolutely.
I mean, we lose between 80 and 90% of the nutrients that vegetables have upon cooking them. So, I don't eat raw food all the time, but whenever you can do it in dishes like this, then it makes absolute sense. And that skin, all of the flavour and all of the nutrients, or certainly the vast majority of them, are in that skin. And what we're going to do, we're going to marinate these ribbons in a little bit of lemon zest, and then we've got some extra virgin olive oil. This is from our estate, Chateau Léoube, in Provence, in France.
I love the fact that you know where everything is from. The oil, the lemons, the tomatoes. It's all got provenance.
You have to. Whether it's a home cook or a professional cook, you must know where your ingredients come from. Because there needs to be that kind of transparency. So not everybody can go 200 meters and grab their own tomatoes, but you can always grab fantastic tomatoes, from farmers markets, or we just love these varieties. We love knowing where things come from, and they have a story as well, which is really important to us. So I'm just going to cut the edge off that lemon. So we've got some extra virgin olive oil, some salt, some pepper, some lemon zest, some lemon juice.
And actually that lemon will start to cook those a little bit. But
That's
not with
exactly
heat.
right. Well, this process is known as kind of maceration. So we're just going to turn it over and it's just going to start to soften them. If you like, you could char grill these courgettes, you know, on the barbecue or something, but what's going to happen is you can see that they're already starting to get softer as the acid just starts to kind of break them down. So we can pop that here. And remember that if you're making this at home, you can have the ravioli filling made, you can have the tomato water made, you can have the courgettes done. Yeah. So although it seems like a lot of work at the moment, because we're doing it together, you know, it's actually kind of quite easy.
It's all about the mise en place, isn't it?
It's all about the mise en place, correct. So as our pasta dough is still resting, we can make the filling. I'm only going to be making one ravioli. So remember that the singular is a raviolo, one, and plural ravioli. Yeah. So actually, effectively, this is really a raviolo, if you're going to pull me up on my Italian grammar.
Heaven forbid.
But you could make lots of little ones. You could make cannelloni as well. You could roll it up and cook pasta. There's so many things you can do, but this is going to be a ravioli. So we've got our crab meat. This is Cornish crab. Cornwall and Scotland both have extremely incredible kind of fishing communities. They really know where their things come from. They go out day boating. It's traditional fishing methods, so we know that there's no kind of overfishing, no bycatch. You know, we're going to get crab. We get crab in the pots, yeah. And into here is going to go a little bit of creme fraiche. Now you don't need too much creme fraiche, just probably about a teaspoonful for this amount. Obviously you have the recipe online. Yeah. So we're going to take some pepper and some salt. And then again, we're going to use that little bit of lemon zest and that little bit of lemon juice. You should never, ever, ever cook fish or shellfish without that little squeeze of lemon. It really makes a massive difference. And the creme fraiche is just going to bind that together. We're going to add a few of these tomatoes. So these tomatoes have just been skinned and then diced. And we're going to keep a little bit of that back later for the garnish. And then we're going to take a little bit of basil. So you can see there's a little bit of basil in the tomato water. There's a little bit of basil and tomato going in here. We're starting to kind of create a theme. And then we just need to scrunch these up and then just run a knife through them very quickly. Okay, and don't overpower it. Just be careful with that kind of balance of flavour and texture.
And if you're not sure, you can always have a little taste.
Well, that was...
And then correct.
Absolutely, that's just what I was about to do as well. Just, it's so important. It's so important to taste everything you're doing. And also what you'll find is, you'll taste it, you'll adjust it, and then you'll be happy.
Yeah.
But you know, you need to taste, adjust, taste, adjust.
And then there's none left.
Exactly. So make that little bit more. So filling done. Garnish here. A little bit more tomato water, and then we just need to come and make the actual ravioli. Okay, Richard. So we've got our pasta dough. I've cut it into a couple of pieces to make it a little bit more manageable. We're going to start rolling it through this pasta machine. Okay. So we've got this on the widest setting, so it's the thickest. And then we're going to start rolling that through, folding it, and then rolling it again. Now at the moment we're not changing the numbers, we're not affecting the numbers in any way, we're just rolling and folding, rolling and folding. Okay. At this stage we've got quite a nice shape to our pasta dough, and then we're going to start going down the numbers now. So we're going to stop folding, and we're just going to go from this number down to a little bit thinner, and we're going to put it through each number twice, and then that's just going to kind of press it out a little. So I'm going to take some pasta flour or plain flour, whatever flour you've been using, and then just give that a nice dusting. And then we're going to take a piece of pasta that we're going to use for the bottom of the ravioli. And Richard, if you could pass me a knife there, that would be super. Fine. And then we're going to cut this in half. And then we're going to use this side for the top.
It's amazing, isn't it, what you can just do with eggs and flour? I mean, it's a beautiful thing.
So let's come on to actually making the ravioli. I've got a little bit of water in here. Some people bind with a little bit of egg yolk. I think the water is perfect. And then we're just going to brush this across the whole width of the pasta. We know that this tastes good because we've tasted it. We're going to pop that right in the center here. And then just try to give it a nice shape. We're going to lift this over the top here. And then what we don't want to happen is we don't want to get any air within this raviolo. Brushing this down here. Okay, and then we've got it nice and tightly packed. We're going to take a ring and we're going to cut that out.
Simple as that. Look at that.
Super. So here we have our raviolo. We've got a little pan of simmering water. I'm going to add some salt into that. It's quite important just to add the salt at the end, otherwise when the water is evaporating, you know, then you concentrate that salt. So at least now I know how much water I'm seasoning, okay? And then that doesn't want to be boiling too hard, otherwise it's going to kind of rip the ravioli apart, and we're going to pop that in there. Okay, now that's going to take around about 45 seconds, okay? Good, so as the ravioli is cooking, remember we've got that little bit of reserved tomato.
Yep.
And I'm going to tear a little bit of basil into that, okay? And this is just going to be a little additional part of our garnish. Okay, and then let's just start to kind of get this on the plate. So we've got our courgettes. Now, a nice idea, instead of just popping that straight onto into the bowl where it can kind of leave a trail, just start to gather up something that you're happy with in your hand.
Yep.
Okay, and then when you're happy with that, you lift it straight into the bowl. Okay, and that's going to provide a nice kind of bed for the ravioli.
It's little techniques like that. That's all you need to know to make such a huge difference to presentation.
I mean, presentation is so important. You know, we eat with our eyes,
Yep.
so it's essential that it looks super.
Shall I fish this fella out now?
Yeah, that would be
ready?
great. That would be lovely. And then we've got some tomato and basil in here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to, if you can pop that on the board, okay, and then just let it sit. Okay, it's going to get rid of any excess water. You don't want water all over that plate, and it'll give you the opportunity just to add a tiny little touch of salt, a little bit of pepper. Now, usually with a dish like this, a pasta dish, you would have some parmesan. We're not going to use parmesan because of the fish. Don't think it goes kind of particularly well with the crab. I'm going to lift this ravioli up. Pop it on top of the courgettes, okay? And then the last thing to do is this sauce, okay? So we're going to be a little bit chefy. We're going to pop it in a little jug. Okay, so this is our tomato water. Okay.
It adds a bit of theatre, especially to a dinner party.
I think
as
so.
well, doesn't it?
I
It's
think
a
so.
talking point.
I think so. So now we've got our little jug. We can set that up there, and then of course you bring it to the table, and then you just pour that tomato water right over the top.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Fantastic.
And that's it. So a crab and tomato ravioli with basil and courgettes.
Sensational, Steve.
Super. Good. Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Let's taste it.
Indeed. Let's do it.